Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Absolute BSS, the Casualpetitive podcast about Bandai Namco's Battle Spirits Saga. My name is Eric, and I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host Angel. How you doing today, Angel?
I'm doing good. Hope everybody's doing as good as well. Just listening, watching, or just tuning in.
Awesome. Yeah, another episode today without Cam, which sucks, but there's some good reason for it. Cam's pretty busy with work stuff, but also part of the reason he couldn't be here is he has to prep and get ready and leave for the this big Keyforge event that he's going to. So, pretty excited to hear about that when he comes back.
Yeah, I know he's been talking a lot about it on the Discord, and kudos to all you guys that I think it's quite a few people actually that have joined the Keyforge um decks as well, and I've seen a lot of people asking questions. So good luck, Cam, when you listen to this, and hopefully you are the Keyforge god that I talked about quite 10 episodes ago.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I don't know if he's actually like playing in the event. I mean, I'm sure he's going to play a bunch of Keyforge, but I'd be interested to hear how it went. Like if he, if he played any of the events, if he did super well or that kind of thing. But unfortunately, he's not going to be here to. I think we're going to answer some more listener questions today, and also just kind of talk about the set three meta in general. I wish that he could be here for this because there's a lot of yellow stuff going on. I actually, to start us off, I have Macaroni Pentan on the screen just because I love that little guy. So, but
Macaroni Pantan.
he's so persistent.
Yes.
But before we get into that, what have you been up to, Angel? What have you been up to lately?
Honestly, man, not a whole lot. Unfortunately, this time around, after coming back from the Netherlands from the Pro Tour, I've been just trying to catch up on my what's it called? Trying to be on the sorry, something turned on my computer for some reason. It was talking. I was like, who is talking? But I thought somebody joined. I was like, who is it? Who's on here? Who is it? But apart from that, sorry, trying to catch up on my sleep schedule in life, as you can tell. But honestly, I've just been
Mm,
extremely busy with work. I've been working like 18, almost 19-hour shifts the last couple
jeez.
of days. Unfortunately, my job and what I do is peak season, so been investing a lot of time, unfortunately, doing that. Keeping up with as much as I can in the Discord with people, either opening or asking questions or trying out decks for set three. I have still yet to open the 5 boxes that are in my living room, so hopefully I can get to that maybe tonight. I know I promised I would do it last time, last podcast we had, and I didn't get a chance to. But and apart from that, in between the various minimal breaks I get at work, I've just been, doing my usual stuff, just playing Marvel Snap because it's a quick, easy game, and keeping up with the new event pass that came out. But unfortunately, I have been just kind of swamped, like I said. So it kind of
Mm.
sucks. I'm kind of living off all you guys and everybody on the Discord just playing games, constantly seeing people say like, "Let's go test, let's do this." I'm just kind of being over here, womp womp, kind of sad face. How about you, man? What you been up to?
Well, I have had a chance to play a bit of Set 3. I actually played some games the other night with Overlord Ubel from our Discord, which was a lot of fun to play with somebody. I mean, no offense to you and Cam, but it's nice to
That's
play with someone where, like, I don't know their tells, Like, I don't know
right.
what they're thinking or how their deck is built. Overlord Ubel was playing this like blue deck that I think he's shared a couple times in the Discord, in the deck picks channel. Which, by the way, if you want to share pics of your deck,
Yeah,
uh,
throw it on
come
there.
come join our Discord. There should be a link in the description of this video or in the show notes if you're just listening to the audio version. We have a lot of fun in there. It's been really active for a minute, even though we have like a really small group, but it's really active, which is fun.
Yeah, which
Um,
I like.
yeah,
It's like I always say, numbers don't mean nothing if nobody's active, right? You can have a
yeah,
channel that has whatever 300 users on it, and if only 10 people are talking, then what's the point? I like a community, and it's growing,
yeah.
and more enjoying. But the ones that are involved, it's definitely like you said, it definitely has been active. So keep it up because it keeps me occupied when I am pissed off at work. So
Yeah,
I like reading
yeah.
what you guys are talking about.
Oh man, the amount of time I've just like it's like I've replaced my social media scrolling with just like going to Discord and seeing like what kooky decks people are trying to run or like seeing what questions people have or it's been fun. Um, but Yeah, so we played a few games. I got to play test some red, and I got a little bit of spice that I want to talk to you about at some point, Angel. I don't know if I want to reveal it on the show today, actually, because I don't know that anybody's talking about it yet, but I definitely
Okay,
want to.
yeah, keep it.
Yeah,
Might give you a edge in Atlanta, maybe.
yeah, because I originally thought, and we'll get into this later in the show, but I originally thought that Gale was going to be like this huge dominating force, but I'm actually starting to think a little differently now that I've gotten to really playtest some other set three cards and decks. So it's been interesting.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit later. I got, well, I mean, we'll get into it, but I still think Gale's gonna be good. There's a couple factors I think that's happening right now, which are good
Yeah,
factors, right? But we'll get into it a little bit in the show. But that's
yeah,
good though. I mean, yeah, I definitely want to hear about it a little bit later. Then see what you
yeah.
got going on.
Yeah, and then right before we get into that, as you know, the other thing I wanted to mention is I've been playing a lot of Netrunner. So
Yeah.
Android Netrunner is just it's my favorite game of all time. I it was the game like I played Magic somewhat competitively before. Like I didn't really go to like lots of huge events. I would just go to like, Friday night Magic at the shop and then play in a couple store tournaments and then go to like a regional here and there. Kind of like the same thing I used to do with Yu-Gi-Oh when I was younger. But Netrunner was one of those ones where like I really went like hard into it. Like I went and played in the world champs and stuff like that. So it's just a game that has always just I don't know. There's something about Netrunner, and we've talked about it on the show before, but I feel like it just can't be replicated in any other card game I've tried. Um, so it's so fun. I wanted to get back into it, but it's now run by this like fan organization called Nisei, and so like they've created like new sets and new cards and just like lots of new stuff. And um, I tried to like dip my toe back in and start in like the casual like starter section of there's a website called jinteki.net that's like a browser website that you can use to play the game. And I tried to start in like the like beginner friendly lobby there and like, just dip my toes in and just play with like the core set cards. And then I immediately was like, oh, I'm already like ready to move past this just because of my past experience. Like some of the people I was playing with, like I know the rules of the game, I just don't know the card pool, right?
Right, right.
So it was like some of the people I was playing with were like really struggling with the rules, and I was like, okay, this isn't for me. So I just dove head first. I went straight into standard. I looked at like what deck lists people were playing. I just picked some cards that looked decent to me, and I just started cranking out games in the like competitive more competitive section of the card of that game in like the standard games on there. And I did pretty well, honestly. I think part of why I did kind of well was actually because I don't really know what my opponents were trying to do, and I think I was probably playing the game in a really weird way because I was playing it kind of how I remember playing it. So I feel like my strategies were probably like very old school and not really up to date with the meta. So like I don't know. Sometimes people were probably like, "Oh, he's bluffing this card," and then I'm like, "Joke's on you! I don't even know what that card is." you know. And it felt the same way when they would play cards. They would just like do stuff, and I would just be like, "I hope they did that right because I have no idea what they just did." So especially with the runners, there's like all these new like Trojan AI programs that you can like install on ice. And so it's like, I'm going to move this over here and then swap it to this other piece of ice. And then when I do that, I can take these credits and move them from this card to this card. And then when I do that, I get to draw one card and like all this stuff. And I was just like, I don't know what's happening, but looks fun.
Jeez. So is it automated, or is it kind of like TTS where you have to kind of control
It's kind
the
of
cards and all that, and like the turn faces and all that?
it's kind of a mix, right? Like a lot of it's automated, but a lot of it you still have to do manually. So, like you could make a mistake. Like you have to spend your credits and stuff more manually, to like properly do things on there. So you kind of have to either be aware of what's going on or just trust that the other person isn't cheating. But,
Mm.
one of those things. But man, it's been fun though. I'm really enjoying it. I do think I want to try and dive back into it. I was looking for like local netrunner groups in my area, and unfortunately there aren't any. So, but I'll keep an eye out. Maybe there will be like a regional tournament or something that I can make my way over to. And um, since it's fan run now, they allow proxies, so I don't even really have to buy anything. I can just print proxies and go play.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you don't have to really spend money too
Yeah.
much besides maybe traveling, depending on how big it gets or what events are going on.
Yeah, so I'm excited to dive back into that. It's one of my favorite games of all time. If you ever want to learn how to play Angel, let me know. We can play some games on Jinteki.
Yeah, to see what it's talking about, man. I know you've been talking about it for a long time since I met you, so at least to kind
Yeah,
of see what the game is about, right, or how it plays, because I know you make it seem like it's very different from other games. So I definitely, we want to try it, see what it's like.
yeah. Well, before we play some Netrunner, though, we have a lot of BSS to BS about.
Yeah, we do.
um, yeah, let's just kind of move right into the listener questions. Do you want to read the first one, or do you want me to go for it?
I could be the first one from Overlord Ubel.
Sure.
Question was, did any of your thoughts of set three come true? Like, there's some cards that you thought would be busted, turn out busted, or not used? Um, so yes and no, right? I think all of us were really big on the Gale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, well, and I say all of us, right? Not just us three. I mean, a lot of people, whether it's on multiple discords. I
Yeah.
know talking at the pro tour, so it's not like it was just us three kind of lighting the flamethrower. Like everybody was talking about Gale, and
Yep.
that's like those were the biggest cards I think that everybody wanted to get their hands on, apart from Strong Draw. Uh,
Yep.
so I don't. I still like I said, it's early, right? We just had the first grand open like right after set three came out. So and I usually don't try to go off the first one because a couple things, right? Usually the first grand open, I notice people and I think that's like with any game really. People will stick playing with decks or things that are still like they didn't know, right? Because at the end of the day, like, oh my god, everybody's gonna be trying new things. So let me play a deck that I know what it can do,
Mm,
and maybe splash some set three stuff in there, right? Just a
yep.
couple things to either elevate or boost it. Because your chances of winning are a lot higher, right? I mean, I know I do that, right? In any game I play, Marvel Snap, Hearthstone, sometimes the Battle Spirits I've seen it happen where, like I said, I'm not gonna try out, at least for the first major event, a bunch of new decks. Um, if I'm trying to win that money or get that invite to a pro tour if I haven't been, or stuff like that, because that is your best opportunity to really kind of have a little bit of an edge, right? Unless you get
Yeah.
caught completely off guard, because ideally it's gonna take a couple, right? A couple events for set three to really metas really truly evolve into what it's gonna land at probably by the time Worlds happens, right?
Yeah.
So I still think Gale's gonna be very good. I still think that archetype from set three, it's going to be scary, right? Unless Bandai comes out, I don't know, after Atlanta and makes an errata or something on the Nexus. Uh, but other than that, at least from what I've seen from the Netherlands, Grand Open, well, I don't know if it was in the Netherlands, but at least the Grand Open that was over there. A lot of the cards that we saw, like Flush Stream, right? I saw a lot of Flush Streams and a lot of builds. Um, Mandala was on a lot of the decks as well. A lot of yellow for sure, right? Which we all know who the X rare. It basically, I feel like it replaced God Behemoth, right? Like
Yeah. You're talking about Genbu?
Gembu, yeah, good
Yeah.
old Gembu, and I think
So
he was like sold out on TCE player last time I saw it. But I was like, geez,
I think I've got a full playset of him already. He was not very hard to get as far as X rares go, but yeah, he's. I'll read him really quick just so that everyone's up to date. So, he 10 Millennia Turtle Genbu is an 8 cost 4 reduction Fabled Beast. So he's a Fabled Beast, which is a very relevant spirit type in yellow. And then he has for 1 core at level 1 he's 5k, for 2 cores at level 2 he's 6k, and for 4 cores at level 3 he's 10k. So you don't need to put a lot of cores on him to get him pretty big, and he's out of like all of the major removal range, even with just 1 core on him. Um, at all 3 levels during your attack step, at the start of the step, select one of your other Fabled Beast spirits. It cannot be blocked by your opponent's spirits with effects listed during this turn. So he basically can make one of your other Fabled Beasts just like totally unblockable because most people aren't really playing vanilla spirits too much. Um, there's a few that get played, but not very many. I would say more often than not, spirits are going to have effects listed. Then at level 2 and level 3, during your attack step, when one of your Fabled Beast spirits is destroyed by your opponent, select one of your Fabled Beast spirits and refresh it. So, in a way, he just makes this like really aggro Fabled Beast strategy just go even harder, right? Because it's like
Yep.
you start swinging in with your Fabled Beasts, they get blocked by your opponent's stuff. Then when they get blocked and they die, you probably ramp a core and draw a card off of your Blessed Cathedral, and then now you can refresh one of your other Fabled Beasts, maybe your Eagle or whatever. Also, making the Fabled Beasts with Blessed unblockable, pretty nuts, and then refreshing them, and then they're still unblockable that turn, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you're constantly basically, I mean, you're doing damage, right? And you're freaking technically ramping slash getting your life back,
Yeah,
or getting more life, right? So you're more comfortable having more spirits exhausted because you have probably 6, 7, maybe 8 life, right? Like you're good. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
So
it's crazy.
to answer Overlord Ubill's question directly, were there any set 3 cards like did our thoughts on set 3 come true, and are there any cards that we thought would be busted that turned out to not be used? um, I don't know that that happened, but I'll say that there's a lot of cards that were not on my radar that now are very firmly on my radar.
Yeah.
um,
I I think like the main ones that we knew were gonna be played, right, are Strong Draw and Floodstream, right? I think
yeah,
for most of the top 8 that I can think of, and even top 16, I mean, every deck, I mean, so maybe 1 or 2 decks that didn't run some of those, had it. The one card I was really surprised that was ran on a lot of decks, and I saw this in the Pro Tour too, and I forgot to talk about this, which I'm excited about because I was bandwagoning the hell out of this card since like the opening days, was Feral Slash. Feral
yeah,
Slash is in a lot of lists, and it's such a good card, and I've always talked about that. And I remember the first time I caught people off guard when I was playing that card around set one's meta, and
yep,
it's just like such a good card. So it's good to see it. I love when you get later into sets and like cards from set one or previous sets start becoming like more relevant or useful because I've always believed, it's extent to it, but I've always believed that every card is useful in one way or another. I mean, there might be some
yeah,
cards that are probably just better used as fire, but apart from that, it's very rare. But I think every card has a purpose. But definitely, I say Flush Stream, Strong Draw were the ones that I knew, and I think we all talked about it. Like those cards are they're just good. I mean,
yeah.
and I think a lot of decks are running those, so I'm not
That
surprised to see those.
that's a really good point. I think there's a lot of cards that we had kind of forgotten about, and then with the ban list and set 3 coming out, there's a lot of these older cards. Like I think part of what made Pharrell Slash like a good card again, or like something that people are looking at, is the fact that Depths is banned, and it's like all of the best Nexuses are now able to just be hit by this. And
Yep.
then on top of that, you've got Hurricane Highlands, which is going to be, in these Gale decks, and that gets hit by this. So it's it's a really good card. What are your thoughts on Break Burst?
Oh, Break Burst, I think we had. I think that card is one of those cards where we kind of I think talked about it, but I don't think we like talked about it, right? It wasn't.
Yeah,
I think you and I were talking about it. It wasn't until I actually we did some draft
yeah,
at the Pro Tour, and as soon as I saw that, I think I tried to have 4 copies of it for the draft and the seal events
yeah,
because it's such a versatile card for a cheap cost. And I don't know if you have it up, Eric,
yeah.
so I can read
So
it.
it's a yeah. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I can read it.
Yeah,
So Break Burst is a blue card. 3 cost, 2 cost, blue reduction. It's a magic card. In the main, you can discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, or main or flash. You can select one of your opponent's spirits that costs 3 or fewer and destroy it. And
yeah,
to me, that's huge, right? Because it doesn't matter what the BP is; it's just 3 or fewer. And I love cards that are not attached to BP because it helps you kind of get it around, right? And this card, you
yeah,
can use it in a multitude of ways. Obviously, with it being draft, I can release it to its full potential. But I mean, this card could be what like wherever you need maybe to push the last bit of damage, right? If your opponent has some annoying spirit or maybe something that's a white spirit that has whatever something on it, maybe they do a suppression on it, whatever it might be, right? Flash this
yeah,
in. But two, like blue has a lot of cards where you need X amount in the opponent's discard pile for it to, for whatever effect to be active. This could get you those last, three or last two that you need in your own turn before you push for the, before you go to your attack step to, activate Mandela or whatever it is you're trying to do. So
Yeah.
I love this card. I mean, it's literally it could cost you one, and it has such good effects. So I love this card.
Yeah, it's a really solid card, and I'm glad that you brought up the draft at the Pro Tour because this card was not on my radar until we played the draft, and um, I just got hosed by this card so many times, and I was like, "Damn, that card's good." Because I think for blue removal, we had talked about Floodstream, so Floodstream was on my mind. But of course, it wasn't played in the draft because it's a starter deck card.
Right.
But then when I saw Breakburst come out, I was like, oh shit, that card's awesome. Um, so let's see. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything that disappointed me so far. I think I'm just finding more and more cards out of set three that are impressing me
I mean,
for sure.
honestly, it's yeah, set three, and we're gonna see this more and more as more events happen and more people really get their hands on set three and playing it. But what I like to see and hear, man, the response from the community has been very, very good, very positive about this
Yeah,
set. And I hear from everybody, right? Oh, this set allows so much diversity, or this set's so much fun, or this set's whatever. Like, and I mean, that's awesome to hear. And we'll get into that a little bit later because I know it's a question that kind of relates to what I'm trying to get into. But it's nice to see that just on set three, we've completely done. It feels like a 360, right? Like
yeah,
set two, everybody's kind of like depressed and like, oh, screw these
yeah,
boxes and whatever. Not much change besides like maybe Worker Ant Man, Thorn Prison, and a couple green things here and there. But where set three has done the complete opposite, and not just for blue, right? Because blue, I don't think it's not there yet, right? It's very minimal card pool for blue right now.
yeah,
I'm just talking about in general. Like, I mean, it is blue's still good for what it is, but it really gave the extra juice, what I call it, to every other color that's currently available.
yeah,
And it's opened that variety of art types or play styles or different things you have to worry about now or different things you have to think about. So I think a mixture of that ban that happened, like you were mentioning, I think that definitely helped out open the doors for other cards or play style decks without having to worry about am I gonna sit here for an hour, playing purple white axe biter and just sit back and not do anything, right?
yeah.
Which is exciting to see, but I'm really glad to see that everybody's liking set three. And I mean, like I said, I haven't even played it yet, but just looking at the cards and just seeing what everybody's playing, it just looks like a very fun or it's gonna be a fun meta for the next couple months. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think I'll also plug that Bandai has sent out a survey for people to take about their thoughts on set three. And I think, to your point, with all of us being so excited and positive about it, we should let them know. We should definitely, go take that survey. Let Bandai know that we want to see more sets like this where there's all these really versatile cards that are expanding the archetypes that we want to see grow. And also, one thing I want to say about blue, not that they're going to have to do this again, but because we have all the colors now, but I think the way that they released blue was much smoother than green for the main reason that we've talked about some blue cards here that are very splashable into a wide variety of decks for their capability as removal cards. And I think that makes blue a very playable color in that you'll see a lot of blue cards in every deck. And also, and including strong draw because it's such a good draw card. But also, there's enough blue stuff to experiment with if you do want to go down that road. But also, as we wait for more blue cards to come out, it's not like blue is useless. If you feel like there's not enough blue to build a full blue deck with yet, you can at least still play with a lot of the blue cards just because a lot of them are so splashable.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And like I said, it was only the first major event that happened with this set. Once brains start brewing, people experimenting thing, and I think that's what I like about it. Like I can't recall set two having so many different people. Cause I don't think there was enough there to really even experiment with. To be honest, that's
Yeah,
probably part of the problem. Well, we're set three. I've seen just I mean even on our Discord, right? People trying out different crazy deck builds or a lot of rainbow stuff with the lore set and set
yeah,
three. Where set two, I really just felt like Literally, like, it was just, and I don't want to say the word boring, but it was just kind of like, all right, we're still technically playing set one with like a
Yeah.
splash of a couple things in set two.
It was
Where this
like,
has opened, like, everybody's like trying different things or different ideas. People are bouncing ideas off each other, and it's
mhm.
exciting to see, man. It makes really the game a lot more fun. Not just knowing that everybody is involved and loving the set so much. So to your point, yeah, go take that survey because obviously we said it before, I think in multiple podcasts, but Bandai does listen, and they do take our opinions very, very serious, and they want this game to succeed. So any positive, constructive, whatever it might be, right? Just take that survey and be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, set two was kind of like, here's Worker Ant-Man and Thorn Prison. Go put those in all your decks, and then
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
But there you go. It's like you're done. Here's some cool Gundam cards to collect and put in your binder for now.
yeah.
Like,
I do think this is a perfect segue into the next like question slash set of things in our channel here. Um, is Gale? So this is from Type in our Discord. Is Gale still the boogeyman of the format, or do you think there is a hard counter or two out there that keeps the game from spiraling into mega ramp rainbow decks? And then, just as a little aside here, a new member of our Discord, ISell, said, so yellow is the boogeyman of the format, and I would say if more red players, then maybe it would be more of a triangle format, which is good. I think this is a really good point, is that and we can get into this in a sec, but I think that the meta's shaping up to be like busted wide open, where like almost like a rock paper scissors format, like what ISell's talking about. Like this beats this, but then this beats this, but then that beats
right.
this, and
Yep.
it's just like it makes your like you can play almost any color, but then it makes your sideboard choices and your matchups so important, which I think is what really makes a very healthy meta for a card game. Um, ISell also shared a list of the top decks from the Netherlands Grand Open, and pretty crazy stuff there because 6 of the 8 top decks were yellow decks, and then there was one purple and one Gale. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts about all of this? Do you think Gale's the boogeyman? Do you think that there are ways around Gale? Do you think that like what are you thinking about all the decks that we can play right now?
Yeah, no, I definitely think I don't think Gale is the boogeyman, right? Like I guess like original thought, there's so much variety, right? And things you can do to counter and I say counter, right? Like work with Gale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that Gale's not good, right? Because it's all about if your opponent happens to go off with Gale early on in turns and you don't have an answer, or you just don't have the ability
Yeah,
to deal with it, it can get out of hand still. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying by no
yeah,
means, oh, Gale's not as good. No, it definitely
yeah.
still is. Like it's
You
just about
you have to be prepared for Gale, or you're gonna get hosed.
yeah, it ain't like you're just gonna sit back and chill. Like you have to worry about Gale.
Yeah,
But like to your point though, it is like rock paper scissors, right? Like I've been seeing a
yeah,
lot of like conversation between yellow. A yellow matchup against a red matchup could be a 50-50 depending on who goes off. Purple might struggle a little bit with this, or Gale might struggle with that, or this deck might have an edge to that, which I like, right? Because that is really like that's how a card game should be, right? You don't really ideally you don't know who your opponent's going to be. You build the best deck or the type of deck that you want to play with. You go to an event, you get paired up. That's what pairings are for, and there you go, RNG baby. What's your matchup? Oh, it's
yeah,
a mirror match, or is it you said it happened to you. Well, like sometimes you go into an event and you face the few decks that you do not want to see because your deck struggles with that. But like you were saying, that's where maybe some of the tech cards come in handy, where it kind of helps your deck maybe be stay afloat with some of that. But I definitely think that I don't want to say that Gale's gonna be the boogeyman or even Yellow the boogie. I mean, Yellow right now, Yellow is since after the Pro Tour, right? But
yeah.
it's just so early. I
I
mean, it's too early for anything
I
like
think
that.
I think the yellow thing is a byproduct of what you were just talking about before. Is like yellow is a deck that was kind of already like built, but then Genbu came out and it slotted in so perfectly. And then also because yellow did won the Pro Tour, I think everyone
Yep.
was just like, oh, how do I make yellow even better with set three? Okay, I'll just basically play the Pro Tour list, but like update it with these new cards. And I do think that yellow is very very strong right now. I do think it's very good, but to your point, I think a lot of it is just people are comfortable with that deck maybe, but also I think we talked about this in our text thread outside of our Discord with just me, you, and Cam, and like I'm interested to see what happens with yellow because there's a lot of people who have ignored yellow for a while and maybe just aren't prepped to play against it. And there's also going to be some people who pick up yellow and try to just like play it without ever having played yellow before and just are going to be like, oh, this deck's bad, but it's just like they don't know
Yeah,
how to play
yeah.
yellow.
Yeah, and
So,
I think what yellow is so valuable to right now, obviously. I mean, you think about it. That Grand Open was a week after the Pro Tour. So how
mhm.
many players really had, if you were in Utrecht already, you don't have a whole lot of time. I mean, most people have been, play testing set three for a while, obviously.
Yeah,
But realistically though, you haven't had a whole because you're going into a blind meta on the first major Grand Open of any brand new set or
yeah,
card pool, like you're going in blind. So 9 out of 10 times, like I said, you're gonna play something like you said this is done very well. How can what from this set might make this deck or elevate the deck a little bit better? Let me go
yeah,
for that because it's gonna be I don't want to say easy win, but the matches will be a little bit easier because people are either two things are gonna happen, right? Everybody's trying their ideas, thinking it's gonna work. It doesn't work, so it works in your favor, or vice versa, right? Cars is still new. So there might be a lot of misplays happening because the set's so new, right? Oh man, I missed the timing on this, or this doesn't work
yeah,
the way I thought it did. Where that's why always the first Grand Open. I don't really like to go off too much off it because it's just like everybody's trying new cards, and it happens in a lot of different games. Where I think that maybe the Atlanta Grand Open, right? Oh, actually, we got the Pasadena, right? So we
yeah.
got Pasadena.
Pasadena, yeah,
Pasadena might be a little, I think we're kind of shifting to that where you might see maybe a lot more probably red splashing in, probably a few, white decks out there, white control, white, whatever you want to call them, tempo ramp, and, yellows, I'm sure. And then by the time Atlanta hits, that's kind of like towards the end, right? Like, all right, this
yeah,
is where the meta's been defined. This is what's happening. So I would not be surprised actually to see some more Gale decks at Pasadena, maybe just completely different, or like somebody had mentioned on Discord, maybe it is a rainbow style, maybe we're wrong. It shouldn't
yeah,
be all mono green. Maybe a rainbow with something else is what makes Gale more good because it allows you to get into these bigger spirits from other colors that are usually, take a lot of cores to summon. So yeah, I think that like I said, right now, I think there's a deck for that can match up. I say about at least 50% with another deck. Um, Too early to really say there's like a dominant deck, right? I mean, you could say yellow because it's just topped everywhere, but how much of that is just people, that they didn't know how to play against yellow, like you were saying, because it hasn't been seen for a while, or two, yellow, maybe a lot of those decks are playing against people that are trying something new and it just didn't work out the way they thought, or it just they went yellow and too wide, and with
yeah.
Gembu being ridiculous, it's just like it's harder
Well,
to combat that.
the other thing you have to think about too is a lot of the players there, like there were a lot of people there who just stuck around after the Pro Tour to then play in the Grand Open, and it's like getting product that quickly around the release of the set is also kind of tough. So it's like, what's easier to build? Like this Gale deck that needs
Yeah.
all of these pieces from the new set, or this yellow deck that just needs 4 Genbu? Like,
True. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
um,
because you and I were there. I mean, I was there at least for a week, and I just found that one starter deck by chance. I
yeah,
didn't see a lot of shops that carried, at least where we were at. I mean, maybe
yeah,
there was a spot for it that carried Battle Spirits for us to
yeah.
be able to buy stuff. So
Yeah, and even if there was one, you've got like all these players who are on the hunt for it. So it's like
yeah,
they're gonna buy up anything they can find. What do you think about this rise of rainbow decks? Because I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's weird. Um, like a lot of the rainbow cards we're seeing come out, like Jewel Dragon Smog,
hmm
Smog, however you say him. I'll read him really quick. I've got him up on the screen. He's a 4 cost, no reduction red spirit. He's a Ruin Dragon. So he's always going to cost you 4. Level 1 for 1 core, 3k. Level 2 for 3 cores, 4k. And level 3 for 7 cores, he's at 8k. At all 3 levels, you treat him as rainbow, basically. Like he has the color symbol of every color. And at all 3 levels, when he's summoned, if you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent, you draw a card. And then at just level 2 and level 3, when he's summoned, you get to place a core from the void into your trash. So, like a little bit of ramp, but you can't use it immediately. You have to wait till the next turn for it to refresh. Um, we saw a lot of Smag come up in the Pro Tour, even actually, along with Emperor K, the like
Yep.
lore set card, and it seems like this not purple this rainbow strategy has become even more dominant or prevalent as we've moved into set three. Maybe not like full on like the same decks we saw at the Pro Tour, but it like the Gale deck in top 8 was running a single Smag, and the reasoning behind that apparently was to get around the Lighthouse Nexus out of blue. So
Yep.
Seabed Lighthouse is a 3-cost 2 reduction Nexus out of blue. For 0 cores, it's level 1, and for 2 cores, it's level 2. The first effect is really what's relevant here. During either attack step, your opponent cannot use magic cards in their hand that do not share a color with any of the symbols on their field. So, if you're trying to do like a cheeky Thorn Prison out of purple, not going to work. If you're trying to like Dream Bomb out of red, not going to happen. So, Smag gets around that, and that was supposedly why the one of was in there, and also just for like random cost reductions on whatever out of color cards you're playing. But I think it's put players in this weird headspace now, because I'm in this headspace now of like, do I need to play a full purple deck, or do I need to play a full red deck? Like, is the best build for this deck actually some kind of purple build? Is like the best deck out there some type of like Rainbow Gale build? Like, it has my mind kind of spinning, and it's really cool. But yeah, what are your thoughts on rainbow decks?
I mean, I like it. I love that we're already this early on trying out, rainbow decks, because it just shows that each card in each color, or each color has a specific thing that synergizes one way or another with another card, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
just reminds me of like, Magic when they had the dual color cards that kind of
Yeah.
synergize with like black and blue, right? So a
Yep.
deadly combo. You got recursion and you got counter stuff. Even those of you guys, I don't know if anybody plays Hearthstone here, but playing Hearthstone, right? Just Highlander decks and stuff and neutral cards that kind of all fit to each other, but kind of you know, I can consider a card called like, or a class called Priest, which I can steal whatever my opponent's playing and mix that in with whatever my control deck is, and it makes the deck even better. So I love seeing Rainbow in this game. I think there's some good tech to it. I mean, if you mix that Seed Lighthouse with the Heroic Worm Lord Dragon, where he also I think when he attacks, you can activate any burst cards that you don't share a color with. That's a good lockdown
Wait,
strategy.
what?
And
What card is that?
it's off the lore set, the heroic worm lord dragon.
Oh, the like Naruto ninja dragon dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So with the rainbow thing, it really allows. Oh, let me phrase that. If you're not playing like a rainbow deck or something enough splash, like it really allows you to lock out your opponent from using spell cards or magic
Yeah.
cards. And I like that because it reminds me of like Yu-Gi-Oh as well, right? There's cards in there like anti-spell fragrance or like royal decree. Well, you can activate trap cards, you can activate this. And this is what it reminds me of. Like, oh, okay, cool. You're playing a dream bomb, you're playing absolute ice shield from your hand. Well, now you can't, so you better have a smog or something that
Yeah.
you have to kind of splash in spirits now of different colors. And I think Rainbow and Emperor Kai is the best way to do it. And I know we saw some. I know I faced one personally at the Pro Tour, and it had me amazed. Like, dude, he was like, every time I thought I was leading or out playing him or getting ahead of something, he'll play like or whatever Taka one days, or then he'll play like the Elephant of White, and then he'll play like Belgor. Like Jesus, you had like every single color and to answer, or
Yeah.
counter answer anything that I'm doing. So I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool that we're already, like I said, only 3 sets in, and we're already able to mix all these colors. And I think what I like the most, honestly, it's the Dolores set. It's actually being used. We were
Yeah.
first weren't sure about it. Like, oh, how long is it going to take for the Dolores set to be viable? There's a lot of cards from the Dolores set. I mean, I know like Emperor Kai, Takawa, and the one of the Nexuses. I know I personally seen at a Pro Tour. So it's excited to see that. So I like it. I'm here for the rainbow stuff. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it just adds to that discussion we were having earlier about how wide open this meta is, because it's like, oh, I'm gonna play yellow, or I can play red, I can play purple, I can play green, I can play blue, like I can play white, like they're all viable. Or maybe I'm just like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just play all of them.
Yeah,
let
yeah.
me just
Just
let
put
me
them on
just
the pot. let
Yeah,
me cook.
let me just grab like the best cards from each color. Let me like think about where I want to pull my draw engine from. Let me think about where I want to pull my like ramping engine from. I think that that's something that's interesting now that we're getting more and more cards is that I think people are thinking about the way that they build their decks more about like where am I going to get these different engines from that I need? Like I think Worker Ant-Man was kind of the start of this idea of like, okay, maybe every deck needs some type of core ramping mechanism. Because I think before it was like, if you were playing that color and it had a little bit of core ramp, like if it had Elephant or Blessed Cathedral, like you would kind of just lean into it and do it because it was in your color. But now I think people are thinking like, I need to pull something in out of color to help me ramp cores if I'm not playing green, right? Like I need to pull in Worker Ant-Man. I need to pull in maybe I do a little Gale thing, but really my main strat is I'm trying to Nova or something, you know, like
Right,
uh,
right.
it really it allows you to view the card pool more as like different tools, and then there's a cost associated with each tool. In that maybe you don't get the full cost reduction for something. So it's like, if I don't have the full cost reduction for this, am I willing to pay 4 cores for it? If the answer is yes, then maybe I play it in this like kind of more rainbow build where like most of the time I've already accounted for I'm going to pay 4 cores for this, but maybe every now and then I get to pay two. So
Yeah, no, and I think like I mean I'm sure we'll see more. And this will lead into one of the questions later on. But the next set, I feel like I mean, I'm just speculating. I have no intel inside, but I wonder if we'll see more cards like Smog, right? That one card is multiple colors that allows
yeah,
you to kind of be versatile on whatever you're trying to do. And I think it's cool, like even for me right now, all I've been playing was purple since the game's come out. Like I'm looking at possibly maybe playing red or something different, right? Because it's just like I said, with set three, there's just enough there to really get creative and either splash all you want, if you feel like it's gonna work, or it's just kind of maybe things that you've been wanting to play. It's like, oh my god, this combo's a lot better now, or I can really, like you said, go maybe in the rainbow side and have my deck as one trying to do one thing until I can get to my top end late game, right? And now instead of
yeah,
just what my mid range would normally would be, it's really just like all these top level, whatever it might be, white cards or red cards. We saw this happen in the Pro Tour as well, right? Where like people were playing this sort of like half of the game is aggro, and then like the prize towards the end, here's Nova or here's something else is
yep,
really big. Which I think is pretty cool, right?
yeah.
When it works, it works. When it doesn't work, obviously, like anything else. But for the most part, it was working for people, and that's a cool idea, right? Where like you can play two type of styles of deck in one. And I think having that rainbow play style, I think really helps with that and kind of give you more answers to certain things that you might normally wouldn't have if you were playing like a mono
Yeah.
color deck.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to get at is like I've seen the mindset shift in the player base. Like because we saw a lot of like rainbow decks show up at the Pro Tour, which is not like, the lore set was kind of new at that point, but there were other opportunities to play the lore set before that, I believe. It was kind of just like uh, we I don't know, it was just interesting to see everyone's mindset kind of shift, and I think like I can see that in myself because before I was like, oh, Nova's cool, but I don't really want to play Star Dragons, and now I'm kind of thinking like Nova's cool, I don't have to play it in Star Dragons. Like
Right.
just because Nova is a Star Dragon or has awakened doesn't mean I have to fully lean into like this a Star Dragons awaken thing. It's like, no, Nova's just a good card. Like, let me see if I can fit. I'm viewing Nova more as like a Baculus Curse Dragon kind of thing now,
Yep.
where it's
Yep.
like a versatile combo that you can stick into any deck that you can like afford to do it in. So like out of Gale, I think you could definitely do it. Out of a red deck, you can do it because you have all that cost reduction and you can like maybe go off a little bit with that. And it's just really cool to see to be thinking about things in such a versatile way.
Yeah, I consider Nova, or like cards like Nova. I mean, there's other cards like White has a few cards that I consider this as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Nova to me is what like the equivalent of what I was seeing. You get like a Raigeki or like a Dark Hole, right?
Yeah,
Like when that gets played against you, and if you're not prepared for it, obviously,
yeah,
and that gets placed against you, like the first thought that goes through your head is shit, and then the second one goes is like, how do I deal with this? Like, what do I have?
Yeah.
How can I stop this thing from popping my spirits
Yeah.
every single turn?
Yeah.
And not to mention, it's so disheartening, right? Because it's happened to me. I mean, it happened to me at the Pro Tour with one of the players I was playing. I had him down. I ended up winning the match, luckily, but still, like, I had him down to one life, and part
Yep.
of me start getting comfortable. Freaking Nova gets his life back. It's like not have to like. It's like almost like back to the drawing board.
Yep.
If you've already used like half your resources to even get to that level, it's almost like God. It's like watching paint dry, and if
Yep.
something like ruins it, it's like, well, I'm gonna repaint that whole wall again. It's like
It
so.
just turns the tables so heavily when they play Nova. It's nuts. Um, let's let's move on a little bit here. Hopefully that answered Type's question. Well, actually, there's one more piece to that actually before we move on. Do you think there's a hard counter to Gale, or do you think that Gale is just like a piece of the meta and like what are your thoughts on that? Is there like a hard counter to Gale?
So I haven't played, Gale in person, right? So I'm not the know all be all. My mind's like with most decks that are kind of rely on those things. To me, the best counter to Gale is you get rid of Nexus early on, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of what sort of yellow is a little bit with like Blessed Cathedral or Phantasmal. If you can kind of slow them down a bit, doesn't matter that the spirits have Gale if they're not ramping, right? That's the biggest thing with Gale. You just have to control or try to like stay afloat enough where yeah, they might have some annoying, scary creatures to deal with or spirits to deal with. But if you can control that nexus or pop it early, I think Gale struggles a bit, right? And like I
Yeah.
said, don't quote me on this. I haven't played against Gale in person. I haven't really tested enough. I'm just thinking about a little bit that I have played Gale.
Yeah, because
Just
we
messing
played
around.
quite a bit of
Yeah,
Gale. Like the Gale was the main thing we've played probably the most out of set three.
yeah. And honestly, I think there was a match where like you were playing Gale, and I was still playing like set two purple, and I won against Gale,
Yeah.
right? I didn't have a single card from set three. So I think Gale is one of those things where like you get rid of Nexus early. You still play your tech cards like your Dream Bombs or whatever to deal with maybe the Void Lord. Uh, but then again, though, right? The Void Lord is very expensive if they're not ramping as much as they normally would with the Hurricane Highlands. So
Yeah.
I don't want to say that's like I can't think of it as oh my god it's a counter for Gale. It's just kind of one of those things like I said, prepare for it, know you're gonna play it at some point, and be ready for it, and just kind of have to really be smart about your choices. Whatever that might be. Like I mean, I'll give you a prime example when I was talking about it, yellow when I compare Gale today, and just in the sense of like the nexuses, I had to use a Burning Force one time in one of the events for the spirits of yellow instead of the nexuses.
Hmm.
And all the nexuses did was call out, allow them to build the board back up, right? Because you got your Blessed Cathedral, ramp and draw. You
Yep.
got Phantasmal Paradise. It's freaking draw every time as long as you have the Fable Beast. So you have to deal with those things that's giving your opponent an edge. I mean, it's the same thing with depths, right? When depths was you usually target that first because if you can
Yeah.
slow down the draw engine, it's the same thing, right? If you can slow down the ramping that Gale does, I think you'll be okay, right? I mean, so other things you have to worry about, but at least you're staying afloat with your opponent compared to them ramping, 4 or 5 cores every single turn. At that point, it gets out of hand super quickly. So
Yeah, that's the thing is like you might just get high rolled by Gale. Like they might just like get the Highlands, you don't have an answer for it. They ramp, and then they already have like the bird in their hand, or Schottenjäger or something, and they just like drop it on you, swing in. There's nothing you can do. So it's like you could just get high rolled by it, and that's just that's battle spirits, baby. Uh,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
but at the same time, I do think if you're just like, all right, they've only ramped one core off of the Nexus so far, so if I can just get rid of that, I think I can like hold them off a little bit. Um, and they also when they play the Feng Wong, they also need the three cores that ramp onto it. Usually, in my experience from playing this deck, like I need those three cores that I'm ramping onto it to then immediately use the better effects on the card, like
Yep.
the refresh and the double damage. Like because if I'm playing a 10 cost spirit, even if I can reduce it down to 4, it's going to be pretty tough for me to then also have 6 cores to put onto it. It's a lot more doable if I can ramp 3 onto it or ramp 6 onto it. Then it's like, okay, I can do this. But Yeah, I don't think Gale's unbeatable. I know that I definitely sounded the alarm in like an earlier episode, and a lot of people have been doing that as well, like just kind of worrying about it. But um, I after what I've seen so far, and I could look back on this episode and be like, damn, that guy was dumb. That guy being me, and be like, yeah, damn, Gale is a crazy threat. Like, yeah, it's kind of like what we've been saying. Like, don't get me wrong, Gale is strong as hell, and you need to be prepared to play against it. You're gonna see it. It's gonna kick your ass at some point. But I do think that with a little bit of luck and a little bit of knowing what you're trying to do to play around it, I think you should be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, like just to end it on this, like to me, and I'm saying this very carefully. I'm not saying it's the same deck by no means, right? Because Gale, you ramp up so much quicker than what Purple White was. But what I'm
Yeah,
saying is, Purple White was such a dominant deck, right? It was in so many tops. It won so many events. Everybody was playing it, and it had similarities where Purple White can get out of hand, right? Because if you're ramping with three cores and drawing off the elephant, you got Axe Spider to contend with the lockdown of depths behind it. Um,
yeah,
the point I'm trying to get at that is like that was a very, very high end, like really good deck, and and Gale can be that too, right? What variation of Gale is it going to be? Who knows? That's yet to be seen. But
yeah,
Purple White was not unbeatable. It was hard to beat. It was annoying. You had to really play your ass off, and make sure that your deck can kind of deal with that, or have some of your tech cards. But I would say my ratio of like probably playing Purple White, I probably won 60% of the matches and lost 40%, right? Which is not horrible, but that's where I think Gale's going to be at, right? Like, it's going to be a scary deck that you have to deal with early on. If it really turns out to be what we all think it's going to be, we might be completely wrong and we never see Gale after a couple weeks,
yeah,
which I doubt that. But it's just one of those things where like I think right now there's no deck for any version of the colors or whatever that there's a true counter to, right? Like there's a couple tech cards, there's a couple plays you can do, but if you get eager and you play Furrow Slash early on something else, now Hurricane Highlands come out, well you're screwed. It's like
yeah,
because now they're ready, and that's what I'm saying, right? Like you have to play Gale like it's like your life depends on it because like what they're trying to do. So
yeah,
if you're playing a Gale deck, right, or if somehow save those Nexus removal cards for the important things, because they might beat you out, might play something random, right? Like, let's just say I'm playing some kind of, this ain't a real deck, but I'm saying, let's say I'm playing like Purple Gale for whatever reason. I play my Rotten Swamp or something like that. I'm probably just trying to bait you out for you to get rid of it. I don't care about that Rotten Swamp. I just want to play my Hurricane Highland, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, so I think, I don't know. We'll see what happens, obviously. We got Pasadena happening up soon, so we'll see what, if Gale really comes out there and blows the competition away. Should be interesting.
Very nice. Blows it away, you say,
Yeah.
huh? I see what you did there. Yeah, I can't help but feel like there's some crazy powerful Rainbow Gale deck that is gonna like dominate at some point. And honestly, even though that's a little scary, like I'm kind of excited about it because like I want to try and build it.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to be the guy, who ruins who ruins the game.
No, I'm here for it, man. Like I said, I'm so excited to really hopefully here soon get my hands into the set and really like dig in and start thinking about what I'm
Yeah,
even gonna play for Worlds. But I'm so excited just to see like just how much variety, right? In a perfect world, I would love to go into like this meta, be like you have a really good blue or a couple versions of blue decks that are good, a couple versions of green, every
yeah,
color, and then you have a few rainbows here and there that you really have to pilot very well because
yeah,
you don't have that high cost reduction like you do in some of those other mono decks. But
yeah,
the rainbow's good though, right? It's kind of like what purple white was, right? Not everybody can play purple white. You really have to know what to play at what time and what you're trying to do. So I think that's what I compare Rainbow to as well. It's kind of like it's a good deck, but not everybody can, pivot that deck the way it needs to be pivoted
yeah.
because it's such an awkward deck, because it's so
Yep.
much going on at one time that you have to know what to synergize with what at what time.
Rainbow definitely is a skill testing deck because it's like you need to know what you're mulliganing for, and you need to know like if you're playing strong draw or something, you need to know what you need to discard, you need to know what you need to keep, you need to know like and you need to know every single card that's in your deck, which is going to be even harder with Rainbow because you're probably playing like lots of splashy like one ofs and stuff. So
Yeah. And actually, we were wrong. Before Pasadena, I'll think about it. If you guys are listening now, I want to say good luck to Rolling Royce on our Discord and Shorty because they're actually playing. And I'm probably gonna say this name wrong. Sorry, guys. Brisbane, the Grand Open this weekend. So
Yeah,
we're actually gonna have another Grand Open. So we'll see what happens at that Grand Open.
yeah, that's
So
true.
good luck, guys. Let us know if you guys well a lot of Gale. Let us
Yep.
know what people are playing out
Well,
there.
so that was Shorty's question. Is he was like, tell me what to play at the Brisbane Grand Open. So Gale, play Gale.
Yeah, play Gale.
Let us
Be the
know how
first
it.
one to crack it. Yeah, crack
Yeah,
the code.
let us know how it does. But also, I would really love to see what y'all are playing and let us know what your deck lists were after the event, so we can really see, you know, how that went. I'm excited to anytime we get. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the results of any of these events. Like, I want to see what the deck lists are. It's an exciting time. Um,
No, for sure. Because they change so drastically sometimes, right? Like it's very rare. I'm trying to think of the history of Grand Opens where anytime a new set comes in, like even like with the launch event, right, in Vegas. After that launch event, like yeah, you had the pterosaurs, I think is what it was.
yeah,
But after that, it just every single one it just change until it got to the point, right, where like, all right, this is the best deck that can be built with the cards that we have, which ended up being purple white.
yep,
So it's exciting to see each event that happens back to back how much changes because it's very rare to stay stale early on, right? Because everybody's trying new things. Everybody's came up with maybe they've had more time to play test things. So I'm excited to see after this weekend what happens. Hopefully they stream it because I would like to see it.
yeah. I would love to see that as well. I want to. I'm yeah. I'm just like you were saying. Like, I'm excited to see. Um, do you want to read Sad Mango's question here? It's kind of a long one, but I
Yeah,
think
it's a
it's
couple of chunks,
multiple
but
parts. Yeah.
yeah, let's. I guess I'll read. We'll just read in parts and then talk about it, and I'll read the next part just to make it
Okay.
easier.
Yeah, it sounds good.
So Sad Mango, welcome back, Sad Mango. I know you've been busy, so glad to have you back in the Discord checking in. So here's what he says. Might be too late, but here's my offering. Now that we got the
It
colors,
was
though
not too
blue.
late. You're in.
Yeah, you're never too late. Though blue is smaller pool. Now that we've seen a few metas, and now that we've even seen some bans restrictions, what, if anything, are you hoping Set 4 brings in the new year to mix into the beginning of a complete foundation? Yeah, so it's a very, very good question. So I guess for me, and it's just my personal what I would like, which is already happening, right? So, but more, I guess, X rares that are big boss.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out a way to say that. Like it just like kind of like when Duke is and like when Nova technically should be and kind of starting to be is right now. I want the set four to be like, all right, here's this big badass for red, which is probably gonna be. I mean, we know it's gonna be some form of Nova, right?
Yeah.
But I want to see the X-Rays play a huge part into what the deck is really trying to do. Sort of like what we were talking about a few podcast episodes ago, where Commander, right? Something like where like my deck is revolved against this leader, my X, because I can do X, and Mandala kind of does that, right? Mandala gets better by you milling your opponent cards into the discard pile, and then when he's out, boom, here you go. Here's the big boss, and that's what I'm hoping I see out of set four. I mean, I know we're gonna have the double symbols at the bottom, so that's gonna
Yeah.
be fun and scary at the same time because now
Yeah.
how much quicker the game's gonna go, right? But I also really what I really want it's more magic cards, and we got some in set three, so I think we might be heading that direction.
Yeah.
I
We
want
got
to see more
some we got some
we,
very good magic in set
yeah,
3.
I want to see some interactions, with those magic
Yeah.
cards. Like it's not just about playing big spirits. Okay, now you have magic cards that can answer those big spirits. Because sometimes what I feel like in battle spirits is like, even if I do it against my opponent, if I summon a big spirit or something they can't deal with, you can just tell in their face, like I have nothing to deal with this, right? Like I
Yep.
remember in Pro Tour, I summoned Maduke, and my opponent's facial expression gave it away. Like he had no way to deal with that.
Yeah.
Which is good for me, right? Or anybody that's playing any type of big monster like that. But at the same time, though, it's just like I want to see some kind of magic card that either shuts off effects for a turn or some way, And like I said, set three has some I like counter curse and some other stuff like that. You got we were just talking about it. Was it breaker burst? I think is what it's called. Um,
Yeah,
and
break
then
burst.
break burst. That's what it is. So there's cards out there, but I really want to see more magic cards that really interact with the big spirits or negate or destroy a little bit more than
Yeah.
just having like big spirits that is like you have a few magic cards that deal with smaller BPs, or you might bounce them back or whatever. I really want to see some type of interaction where we can deal with some of these bigger spirits that are kind of annoying. I mean, I think every color has an annoying spirits to deal with. Some require a combo to set up, like Curse and Baculus will always be annoying because it's board wipe for the most part. But I don't know, and I don't know how Bandai would do that, right? Because I know this game is relies on flash steps, so
Yeah.
there might not be much you can really counter on my main step because it's not a flash point. So I'm not sure how to. Maybe it's a Nexus or something. I don't know. But that's kind of what I want to see in Civ 4. For sure though, like big X rares that it's like I could build this deck around this X rare that does X Y C. Because right now I feel like the X rares. I mean, Fable Beast has some, or Yellow has some, obviously. But I feel like some of the X rares right now it's just kind of like, hey, if you want to play this guy, you can. But how do you build your deck around it? I mean, you can try to build like a token deck with like Loki from White, right? You can kind of try to build a token deck, but it's just not like good. I can't see Loki. I don't look at Loki and be like, yeah, my whole deck's gonna be tokens because Loki's gonna do amazing because this effect's not really that good, you know.
Yeah. He has to
Um,
be destroyed for you to get the token. So
yeah, so I want to see like Wimby step forward. I think Nova's on the main cover. Like Nova says, I don't know, for every dragon in your deck, I whatever do X Y whatever the effect's gonna be. So
yeah.
that's my host for step 4. So and future steps.
So in summary, you want to see like big boss X rares, and you want to see magic cards that can deal with them.
Correct, because it's got to be a
Yeah.
balance, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
if you come out with a big crazy Nova, but now you don't have any other Magic cards besides whatever Dream Bomb or something else to deal
Yeah.
with it, then the game's not gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna get hated on. So it has
It's
to be. I want to
just
see both things at the same time to kind of interact with each other, but
yeah.
you have the ability to build something that and maybe I'm just comparing to Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Where like in Yu-Gi-Oh, I want to get to my XYC or my Synchro monster because this is what my deck wants to do. Where right now I just feel like the decks are just a mixture to do a little bit of everything, which is not a bad thing, right? But it's a mixture of everything. But it'd be cool to know that you're setting up for a true combo. Like, yeah, I want to do XYC to be able to do this, and then once I do this,
Yeah.
boom, game over. Unless you have some, one of those magic cards or something to interact with it.
Yeah. I think that Battle Spirits Saga did an amazing job with like the boss X rares in the first set, and then they dropped the ball in the second set because we got like the Void Lords that were kind of like eh, and then this set I feel like they're moving back in that direction. Like we did, I think the thing that they've been doing with X rares is that they've been making the like I don't know, like almost like the mascots of the set, the X rares, which kind of makes sense because like for set 2 we had the Void Lords. No, the Void Lords weren't even X rares. We only had one extra Void Lord,
We
right?
had one extra,
Yeah,
yeah.
but this set is like the guardians of the like different nexuses are the X rares, right? So, um, it's I don't know. I guess to your point, yeah. Like I would like to see more like versatile, like playable cards that aren't so like specific to be the X rares. Like just here's this really good spirit that's like this big dude that you're gonna drop and just like you said, like just really change the game state. Um, and yeah, I'd be interested to see that. As far as for what I want to see more color mixing. Like I want to see that enabled quite a bit. So I think that the double symbol thing kind of pushes the game further in that direction because it's like, okay, I can play a rainbow deck that's, because like the double symbol not only does double damage, but it also does double cost reduction, right? So like this card now reduces all of, if it has 2 red symbols, it reduces all my red stuff by 2 instead of by 1. And so I think that does kind of enable more rainbow strategies. But what I would love to see for rainbow is not so much like, let me just take the best cards from every color and jam them into one deck. I want to see like maybe some cards where like I don't know if this could happen, but like double symbol cards, but it's like the symbols are purple green instead of like green green or purple purple, or it's like purple green. So it's like this card kind of pushes you in the direction of playing purple green. You know,
Are you talking about for like the cost reduction though?
for the symbol in the bottom right hand of the corner of the card.
Oh, just to make it like it allows it to do. Oh, I could see that. Like if a Nexus says if you have a card out that has whatever these 2 colors, I do this kind of thing.
Well, if a card has a purple symbol and a green symbol, then it reduces the cost of purple cards and green cards, right?
No,
So
yeah, yeah.
like
I get you.
basically like I would love to see it enable, like I don't want to see rainbow just turn into like every deck is a rainbow deck, because I think that would kind of take away a little bit of what I felt like is special about Battle
Yeah,
Spirits, and that it really does like reward you for specializing into a specific color or strategy. But I do think it could be cool if the rainbow decks push you more in a direction of like playing, blue white or something, because like that's kind of how it works in Magic a little bit, because there's like you were talking about earlier, like the dual colors. There's like dual colored lands that like there's like a blue white land, and it's like you're not going to play that in a green deck, but in a blue white deck it pops off. It's great. It gives you all the mana you need. So I would like to see more of that kind of stuff for Battle Spirit Saga, is like opening the doorway a bit more for like rainbow stuff, but not so wide open that the decks become obvious, but more like there's a lot to explore with the rainbow. So that's
yeah.
what I would like to see.
No, I like that. And thinking about Sam Mango's question a little bit more. Another thing I would like to see really, because I don't think there's any right now, too much. I guess is some sort of like. I mean, I guess you got Bushrantle or whatever, but like real, like either graveyard disruption, right? Or like, for example, if I'm playing against a purple player and playing Immortal,
Yeah,
I have no way to remove anything from the graveyard.
yeah,
So I think I'm not saying completely like wipe the graveyard because that'd be broken, but at least some sort of interaction with other things that other card games do, right? Like we got hand disruption finally a little bit, right? With some green stuff, maybe a little bit of discard pile disruption that we'll need, or maybe some kind of like searchability. And other things like talking about the X-rays, right? Like it'd be cool even if it's like a combo piece X-ray, right? Like if you played Maduke this game with Maduke's on the field, whatever this supporting, extra does something crazy, right?
you're
Because it
always
kind of
looking for ways to give more support to Maduke. I love
yeah, I
it.
know. I just it's me, the purple in me, god dang it, good on Maduke. But it's just like it's just an example, right? And granted, maybe
Yeah,
that's not what Battle Spirits is about, right? Maybe I'm just comparing to other games. But I definitely feel like I wanted to be more interactions for sure, where like as a player, you get rewarded for setting up such a big play, right? Or like even for Nova. I mean, let's throw in a different card there. Let's talk about Nova. Nova, and I say it's hard. It's not really that hard to play because you can just big bang energy him. But in a way, there's a lot of things you need to be able to really get his full effect off, right? And it's
yeah,
probably nothing worse for a Nova player where you do all that, right? You have the ascending that you need to be able to summon him out and blah blah for him to be like destroyed immediately with like a deadly balance or dream bomb bat or something like that, right?
yeah.
Um so I just think this needs to be something where you get rewarded for either playing these big extra guys that are hardest to play out, and especially because some of the costs are getting extremely high, right? I see a lot of at least this set, a lot of 10 and 8s and 9s, um, if you are playing Rainbow, that does get sort of expensive,
Mhm.
um, so I don't know. Set 4 should be interesting. I'm excited to see what they do for it, apart from just a double symbol. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be a cool set. I'm here. Should we move on to the next piece of this? Because I think there's some
Yeah.
interesting stuff here.
So continuing on with Sam Mango's thread, it was are any colors as a whole lacking in your opinion? Would you hope to see more tribes? Are the card types across the board just right and releasing at a fair pace? Does set four have a chance to fix something, or should it just adopt the aim broke, don't fix approach? And then he just make his opinion. But so yeah, absolutely. I think well, let's start with the first one. Let's go in order. So and then I'll let you answer Eric before we go on to the next one. So,
Yeah,
are any colors as a whole lacking in your opinion? Or are any colors as a whole lacking? So I would say no. I think right now, even though blue just came out, obviously they need a little bit more support because they're the newest color. So set four will probably fix that with the
yeah,
card pool. But even with the card pool that blue currently has, and
yeah,
I'm talking about a structured deck as well, apart from set three.
yeah,
Blue is good. I mean, blue is good. It's scary. I mean, I think I saw a top 16 list in blue where I think it was Cosmic that posted it on his Twitter or X, but that said that I think 3 games or 3 rounds they completely milled their opponent out. So blue's good. I think right now every color is not lacking anything. If anything, for the most part, every color feels a little bit more complete than it has been, right?
Yeah.
Yellow for sure. I'm not saying it's completely fixed. It's just right now it's the thing and it's trending right now. But I think yellow definitely it might have fixed a few things. I think strong draw helps with a lot of decks like white or other decks that struggle with
Yeah,
drawing.
very splashable draw
Yep.
power is
Eh,
like so good.
yeah. So I think that every color right now as a whole, are they perfect? No. But are they good? I think yes. I don't personally feel like there's any holes in those colors. And I'm just excluding out, not enough card pool for like blue. But apart from that, I don't think so. What do you think on that, Eric?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to it. Just yeah, blue is the only obvious one just because it just came out, but I'm not really worried about it because it's gonna get more cards. But I totally agree. All the colors are really starting to have their own like distinct feel to them now that we've had more cards enter the card pool. Moving on to the next part though about the tribes, I don't know about you, but I in card games I love playing tribal decks. Like whenever I play Magic, I love playing like an elf deck or a goblin deck or whatever, and so. I would love to see more tribal stuff. Like the spirits have types, so might as well make the spirit types matter. I think tribal decks also push the meta in a fun direction in that like maybe Gale is like the absolute best way to ramp cores, but maybe there's like a fucking awesome reason to play bird folk. Like maybe like
Yeah.
there's all these cool bird folk cards and they all like rely on all of your spirits being bird folk in order for it to work. So it's like I feel like that keeps the meta healthy. Is like okay, this deck is like really freaking good, but on the other hand, like there's these other sets of cards that are very very good, but you can only play them like kind of in a vacuum. So I like tribal decks, and I would like to see more of that because I think um, it definitely pushes the meta in a healthy direction. And also, when you're playing against a tribal deck, it kind of helps you like figure out like what kinds of things they might have in their deck. So especially as card pools become more and more massive, it helps to narrow it down like what you're playing against, and also to help you build because it's like if I'm building a bird folk deck, and everything needs to be bird folk, it kind of narrows down what I have as far as choices. And I think for especially for newer players, that can be kind of a nice like little crutch to have in the beginning at least is like okay, I'm building a golem deck, so anything that's not a golem I'm not even going to read it right now. I'm just going to build golems. So I like tribal decks. What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I love travel decks. I mean, you said it. I played, coming from Yu-Gi-Oh. I played this deck called Teller Knights, which is a mixture of fairies and spell catchers and warriors all mixed together, but they all have synergy once amongst each other. And I think that's just to me that's really the way a card game like this should be played, right? Like because you have purple and that's the umbrella, but then you branch it off. It's a spider web. You have the serpent archetype in tribe. You have the whatever the nightling. So we can both be playing purple, but based on our tribes or our archetypes, our game play styles can be completely different. Um, Even though we're playing the same color, and I do like that. I think it opens up, like you said, a bunch of different things that you can do. And ideally, what I've noticed with any tribe deck is like a specific tribe wants to do a specific thing, right? So it kind of falls back into your play style. Like, let's just say I'm just throwing some random, like, let's say my tribe is, I don't know, dinosaurs, and dinosaurs just kind of ramp quickly and destroy things because smaller spirits. Cool. That's my play style, right? I want to destroy things, or, my archetype is fairies and it allows me to search magic cards or whatever it might be, or cast magics for free. So I think it opens up that ability to really play the game into a different level where to your point, like if I'm playing against a fairy type or whatever, a spellcaster type, and I kind of have an idea, like, oh shoot, I gotta watch out for this because this deck likes to do, it reminds me of Shadowverse. Those that play Shadowverse for the small amount that was out, or it's out, but that was relevant, I guess. You have like your types of you had fairies, Havencraft. I forget what the dark one was, but either way, one of those that they do with specific things. They want to take damage, they want to do this, to do that. I think that the tribes for sure would be a good thing to go into, and I'm here for it. Also, I like it.
Yeah, I'm excited for them to explore more of that space. Also, Angel, I know you probably heard lots of crazy sounds on my end. I tried to mute my mic as best I could, but this, I don't know, somebody out there is having like crazy party in their car.
Oh,
Um,
you're good. That's a
uh, so the let's see. Is everything releasing at a fair pace? I think we've kind of, let's see. Does 4 have a chance to fix something? Yeah, what do you think about the pacing of like the release of like colors and tribes? And do you think that Set 4 needs to do anything like specific to fix any of that?
No, I personally think the pace currently is good. I think it keeps it fresh enough. It really allows for enough diversity and you know, a three I should say 3 month span of different things.
Yeah.
The only thing in which I think it's gonna fix, right? The only thing I would say the set four will probably fix, which is currently not happening right now. I think some of the games might be, and I could be wrong, right? Because I don't know how they're really gonna do the double symbols, right? Is it just gonna be like a big creature that has double symbols, or they're gonna be like
Yeah.
small spirits, like, which I doubt it because an aggro would be insane. But
Yeah. You'd have to be 4 of Floodstream in every deck.
yeah, so
Just
exactly.
yeah.
So it's like I think that step four, which is fix maybe some of the pace, which honestly at a pro tour, most of the matches went by pretty quickly. It was very far few in between where we went to overtime. There's a few people that went to overtime. Just because the mirror matches like with purple and stuff can go kind of long. But I think just a little bit more of like life manipulation, right? Like I know we have some blacks and yellow, but I think there's got to be something that every color can has a chance of something like that, right? Because if we are having double symbols, um, like how do you? There's got to be a counter to that, right? There's got to be a way to whatever for every attack that goes through, gain a life or take one from your opponent, and I don't know, something like that, right? Because if not, I foresee double symbols being ridiculous, right? Depending how
Yeah.
it's laid out, right? It's too early. We haven't seen any spoilers or anything,
Yeah.
so we don't know
I
anything. So
yeah, I agree. I think once we start seeing spoilers, we can really like discuss that further. But to your point, in my imagination, the double symbol cards are like the big boss monsters. Like they're not gonna be like little dudes running around with double. Maybe there'll be like a couple of those out of like red, just because that's kind of red's thing, to be like
yeah.
super aggressive. But
I mean,
like
and they got double heart as well. So
yeah, yeah. I think that's definitely going to be. Honestly, we might even just see. They announced it as like a core thing of the next set, or at least that was my interpretation. But we might even just see it as like a thing that's only represented on like a couple of cards.
yeah,
Like it may not be as prevalent in the set as we're kind of thinking. Um,
yeah. Apart from that, though, I mean, honestly, I would say this: if depending, like I said, take the survey, guys, because I think that's gonna help judge the future sets. But I say if they stick to whatever, I don't know what happened. They had a board meeting, they had enough coffee or what, but whatever happened for set three, if they continue in that path, I think we're good, right?
yeah,
Whether it's something new, whether it's a brand new mechanic that gets added in, right? Maybe this new
yeah,
mechanic. That's probably what's gonna happen. There might be some kind of new mechanics. I just keeping up a little bit with the battle spirits in Japan. They have like crazy mechanics. We won't get into that because so many of them. But
yeah.
maybe they'll introduce something new, right? Where like, oh man, now we have to whatever this we can do this or whatever that is. And apart from that, though, honestly, I think if we keep it at, because you don't want to go too fast either, right? Because if you go
Yeah.
too fast, you're gonna draw people away. This game has to
Well,
kind of like be fast enough to keep competitive players happy, and everybody else is getting into the game because it's still drawing in, new crowds that still
yeah.
make it viable. But at the same time, you don't want to overcomplicate it, where like a new player's gonna be like, yeah, I'm not. What the hell's going on? I don't know what's going. It's like I'm not playing
Yeah.
this.
Well, new mechanics are dangerous because it's like I don't know, a lot of card games do new mechanics like really badly. I actually think that Magic is an example of a game that in my personal opinion does not do new mechanics very well. They tend to like introduce a new mechanic like for almost every set or like
Every
return
set, yeah,
yeah,
it's
or like
ridiculous.
return a mechanic for like every set and it kind of like doesn't really allow you to fully explore that mechanic, especially if that like game mechanism is like something that kind of relies on you playing a lot of those kind of cards. I think Crush is a little concerning for me if they don't continue printing Crush cards. And I actually felt this way a little bit about the raid mechanic. Like I feel like we didn't really get a lot of raids, so I hope we see more of it.
Oh
But
yeah, what did
um
Raid even do? I don't even remember what
it's
Raid
like you
did.
can exhaust one of your nexuses to then like refresh the spirit. Um
Ah, okay, okay.
but like Crush, I think Crush is probably a more apt example here because it's like for Crush, you want to play other Crush cards. So if Bandai decides in set 4 and beyond that blue is no longer going to have Crush cards, they're going to have like other abilities, then it's like, okay, well, now the only Crush cards I can really play are from this one set. And I don't think they're going to do that, but I just hope I hope that they see that kind of stuff happening with like I think the perfect example I can think of with Magic was there was the Innistrad set that released these like dual-sided werewolf cards. This is like
Mm,
the original Innistrad set way back in the day. Those dual-sided cards have actually at this point become a much more standard like thing in Magic, but at the time uh it was like there were all these cards that dealt with like what side of a card like your cards were on, which was like really cool, but then that was the only set at the time that had those mechanisms. So it was like, well, if I want to play around with this, I have to play cards specifically from this set. And then if I want to play these other cards outside of this, then it's like, well, then there's this whole like card pool that's just basically dead. You know, I can't use it. So it's, I think they do have to be careful introducing new mechanisms to the game. Like it needs to be a little bit more of like a slow drip and like really fully explore the mechanisms that we already have. At least in my opinion, that's the way that I would like for things to go. But I don't think they need to fix anything though. I think they've really I think set 3, kind of like we've been saying this whole time, I think they've really hit a good stride here, and I'm hopeful that set 4 is going to be more of what they did well in set 3. And I think with our feedback, hopefully they can accomplish that.
yeah. No, I agree with that.
So you want to finish this out with this like last piece here from Sad Mango?
Yes. Sap, and so the last piece from good old Sap Mango. Um, I missed all. I only ask because I missed all set three pretty much, but no way do I want to gloss over it. You guys mentioned in previous episode about release schedules, and I couldn't agree more. I hate how much product Magic releases and shoves down throats. It invites such terrible FOMO and maybe dislike the game altogether. So yeah, so I honestly,
Well, this is
funny,
like
I guess.
the we hate Magic episode, which
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
way, that's not true. I literally was playing Magic Arena earlier today, so
Yeah, and I'll say this: Magic itself is a great card game, and nobody can take away that Magic inspires a lot of the trading card games that we've all
yeah.
played, right? I just
To be
think that
just
the
to be
company
clear,
that's running it behind it, is a little greedy sometimes, but
yeah, to
that's
be
all it
clear,
is.
like I love Magic. It's always been one of my favorite games, probably always will be. But yeah, it's I agree. The release schedule, we've talked about it before, and I guess that's what Sad Mango is mentioning here is like the release schedule for that game, kind of like we were just talking about with the mechanisms that come out that are new, and then it's like you're in spoiler season for a set while you're like just discovering
Yeah,
the cards in the new set, and it's like, yeah, I think that to get to the like core of this question though, I think that Bandai's release schedule for Battle Spirits has been pretty good. I feel like right around the time I start to get ready for new cards, we get them.
yeah. That's what I'm about to say. I think, I mean, I don't want to say the word perfect because it's a huge word. I think it's really good because right when I don't want to say bored, but right when you think like, oh, it's getting kind of stale, you have like this little mini expansion that comes out that switches it just enough, for the last
Yeah,
few major events before the Pro Tour. And then you get, obviously the next set. So I think what they're doing so far is good enough. And I think the longest stretch we've had was obviously set one. That
yeah,
was probably the longest meta, and obviously by design because of the game and how it all came out. But set two, I think, and I also this set two felt long as well, just because it didn't change anything up, right? It was just still felt like it was set one, which is why I
yeah,
think set one felt like it was like almost a whole year because set two didn't do enough to change it. Where set three, we already start seeing it, right? It's enough. I mean, just look at the first Grand Open. Look how many different, even though some of it's just basic yellow lists with a little bit of set three splashed in, that will get better and better as the more events go on.
yeah. I
Um,
agree.
that I think that the release schedule right now is perfect, right? And I know set four got pushed back. I think into February right now, for delays or whatever, which is fine, right? But I think that I think it's perfect, right? I think it's definitely. I said I wasn't gonna say the word, but I'm gonna say it's perfect. I think for now, for what the game needs, and the demand of us little whales and thirsty players that want like the next cards and the next cards and the next cards, I think it's perfect
Yeah.
where if they didn't have that little mini expansions that they add or lore sets or whatever the next one's gonna be for set 3, whatever they call it, I think then yeah, maybe it needs to be a little bit sooner. Because sometimes when you're playing competitive event after competitive event, if you don't have new introductions of cards to shake up that meta or to do something else, then yes, you need that card pool to keep that game alive or keep that those rotations happening. And let's not lie, we all love to talk about spoiler season. So as long as it doesn't get crazy like Magic did, where like you have a new set and you have a collector's edition and you have this exclusive set and you got a secret layer and then you got his commander. I mean, Jesus, that's
Yeah.
like every month. I remember watching I think it was like I forgot what the YouTube channel was, but it's like new sneak peek. I'm like, what in the world are we talking about? I just got my set,
Yeah.
whatever set. So I think Bandai's doing a really good job across the board. I mean, Digimon, One Piece, and all those other games I kind of see is around kind of the same timeline. I don't know if they have as many expansions like Battle Spirit does. Don't quote me on that because I don't play some of those games, but I think it's good. I think it's fresh enough where you don't get too stale, but at the same time not down your throat where you're like, oh my god, I just bought this stuff. And luckily the game, still decently cheap. I mean, something I think it's getting up there with just set a couple of cards a little pricey right now,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing to see either, though, right? Because
No, it's good.
as collectors, right, we want our cards to be worth something. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's the whole
I
chase.
Yeah, I think it makes like the SPR when you get like a strong draw SPR, it makes it like it's a cool card. It's a great card that you're going to use in a lot of decks, so it's like good to have, but it's like it also makes you feel like, "Ooh, I really got something out of this pack." Like you get that like feeling of like, "Ooh, I only spent $5 on this booster pack and I got a $40 card. Isn't that
Yep.
cool?" Like
Yep.
it's just like there's some little like gambler like I don't know. In my little mouse brain, like I'm just like, ooh, the cheese. I got the cheese. Like that's how I feel whenever something like that happens.
Well, even
Yeah,
like I mean, I'll say that even like the Saga rare for this set, which I haven't seen one in person yet. Maybe I'll get lucky when I finally open my boxes and pull one out. Like
yeah.
the
Maybe you
pixelated
have
stuff.
one.
That's the
Yeah,
one thing I wanted to talk about, like real quick. It's just I love how Bandai is keeping it fresh by even something such a small detail as that, right? Where like
yeah,
set 1 Saga, set 2 Saga, and set 3 Saga are completely different. It's just not like, oh, I got a Saga, but it looks the same as 8 sets ago. No, each
yeah,
Saga, and I hope they keep that pattern because I think that allows it to be. It's a little more special, like, oh my god, set 3 had the pixel mandala. It was really cool. Set 4 is gonna have, and I'm just gonna use the Yu-Gi-Oh terminology, the Ghost Rare version Saga, or the
yeah.
Black and White Saga. I think that's what allows so that, like you were saying, right? If I pull that card like, "Oh my god, it's so cool," even if I don't ever use it, it's gonna look cool in my binder, and I can show it off to my wife, and I know her, like, "Look at my cool card." So
She's gonna be like, yeah, I've seen it.
yeah, I seen it, and you mess with me, Imma light your binder on fire.
um, yeah, I am a little. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little concerned about the release of Set 4 being delayed so much and us really not. I don't think there's anything planned between now and Worlds. I think the only new cards we're getting outside of Set 3 are like the tournament pack promos, like with Macaroni Pentan and like a couple other things. So there could be like a little set before then. I don't know that we've had anything confirmed yet. But
No, I don't think we have, but if I had to speculate, I think by December, we'll have some sort of mini thing. Just right before Worlds, there'll be something. I have a feeling. Not sure how big it will be. I could be wrong. I'm just
yeah,
speculating. I think by December, like maybe after the last Grand Open, before Worlds, there might be like a mini set. And I say mini set. It might just be like I don't know, 5 cards, like whatever, to
yeah,
finish off the year.
it could be like the elemental spark, right?
Yeah, yep. Just
Yeah,
just enough to shake it up a bit, but not too crazy because set 4 is probably gonna be, apart from just, and we'll talk about this in another episode, but apart from probably just the whole competitive scene changing, with the new year, right? Probably pro tours or regionals, whatever they're going to call it, might be set up a little bit different. I think set 4 is really gonna be like the shake up for that year. I
yeah,
think there might be like a small, like you said, like a little mini elemental set right before the next major event. But could be wrong on that. They could just stick with set 4. But like you said,
yeah.
set 4 is, I think, actually it got pushed back to March. I'm looking at it right now. It got pushed back to March.
Wow.
So that's a big delay from
Yeah,
January. And I do not see them. Hopefully, I don't. I do not see them having this. What, October 27th was the last set 3 came out. There's
yeah,
no way they're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 months, if not without. something else, right? You got to keep the game fresh, like we were just talking about,
Yeah.
because it will eventually run stale, right? Like, all
Yeah,
right,
well,
cool,
I mean, how boring would it be to be playing like the world's meta after Worlds? Like,
right?
I don't want to play the like I don't want to play the Worlds decks after Worlds. I want a new I want something new. I want something fresh. So that way, when we start the whole new season, it's like, all right, Battle Spirits is back, baby. Like Worlds is
Yeah,
over. We've got our world champion, but now it's anybody's game again. We can just get back into the circuit, get back into playing these games, and see who the next world champion is with these new cards.
yeah, and I think that's what's gonna happen, right? Because I mean, if you think about it, Elemental Spark was EX01, so I
Oh
wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if it's EX02, and now you take these last three, all three sets with
yeah.
just EX2, and then it changes it enough, or maybe some crazy card in there that completely for each color that
Yeah.
completely changes everything around. So that's
Uh,
what I mean. That's it's all
That,
speculation. We'll see.
that's what I was thinking. Is it'd be cool if it was like, all right, here's a blue crush, here's a blue card with crush, here's like a red card that does some destruction effect. Here's like a green Gale Spirit that like maybe you think about replacing one of your other Gale Spirits with. Like here's like a white card that like can block more, and like just like some stuff to give you to think about, like maybe these decks that you've already built and they're kind of like quote unquote solved, like here's like some more pieces to really think about, like does this need to go in there.
Right.
But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they come up with. But yeah, I think that kind of takes us through all of our questions here. Anything else that you want to mention or talk about?
No, like I said, just once again, appreciate everybody that's engaging in the Discord. Like I said, it's coming up and alive, and I enjoy reading through all that and you guys' ideas and deck theories, and definitely the questions. I mean, I think I mentioned it almost every podcast we talked about. It's probably one of my favorite things to do, just help you guys be included and answering some of y'all's questions because they're really good and it helps us think. Cam, Eric, and I kind of sit there and brainstorm. Oh yeah, that's a good question. Let's talk about that. So apart from that, those of you guys are playing set three or in any grand opens coming up, whether it's the one in the out there or in Pasadena, good luck and have fun with set three. That's what it's for.
Yeah, good luck everybody who's playing in those. I am excited to see what crazy deck lists everyone can come up with. Um, well, thanks for watching or listening, dear listener slash watcher, however you're consuming this podcast. We really appreciate it. Hopefully next time we'll have our third member back, and he's really what keeps us. Like I love when you and I get to discuss stuff, but I also it just always feels like something's missing when Cam isn't here, because I was listening to our last episode and I was just like, I mean, it's a podcast that we produced and I was cracking up laughing from everything we all said, but mostly from the stuff that Cam was saying. So I definitely I miss his perspective and his jokes for sure. So excited for him to be back from his Keyforge event and have him talk all about that and walk us through how that went. For now, though, if you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay on top of content, we have our Absolute BSS podcast, but we also have other content that we post on there from time to time. So if you subscribe there, you can get a little drip of our podcasts every week, and then also just like other random little videos we make. Cam's been making some Keyforge content, so if you are interested in Keyforge, is a great couple of resource videos there that he's been posting about all the different sets and like how to get into the game and how to play it and stuff. So pretty cool stuff there. Absolute BSS Pod is what it's going to be on YouTube. And go ahead and subscribe, because we are 29 subscribers away from 100 subscribers, and when we hit that, we will be playing Battleshot Saga, which means we're going to be drinking and playing Battle Spirits. We're going to have shots as our life course. So definitely stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. It seems like a lot of people in the community want to get involved in that. I don't really know how to do that in a safe way. But because it's one thing if you or I drink and then like we end up throwing up or whatever, but it's like if somebody else like gets hurt or something, I'm like, oh no, I don't want that to happen. So I don't know, we might have to, maybe we can do some sort of community involvement, but we'd have to set some like really like, okay, you're responsible for yourself, so
Yeah, I need
if
you
you
to
need
sign
to
some.
If you
Sign
need
some
to,
stuff so we're
if
sure
you
we're not
need
liable.
yeah, if you need to switch out some of your shots for water, like please, for the love of God, do that.
No, definitely, and and we haven't come with anything crazy, but I know a few people we talked to in the Discord want to do it. We're thinking about something still where
Yeah,
some kind of fun tournament for all of us, or I don't know. We'll figure something out because we
yeah,
definitely love you guys being involved. And like I said, we love doing this in general because we just love the game. We just love talking and shooting the shit. But having
yeah,
you guys as a community and a part of it, and engaging with us and talking to us, and just seeing even amongst each other, right? Even sometimes where we're not included because we're busy. Like you guys are all there having full on discussions. We love to see it. So you guys are
yeah.
definitely part of the
Hell
family.
yeah.
So we'll definitely think of something to kind of have fun and in a safe manner that we can kind of all just joke around and have a fun Discord night or something like that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, lots of opportunities for fun community nights, and yeah, we'll definitely have some more of that coming soon. I think we've got enough people in there now that we could definitely have some fun with that. So
Yeah.
we just have to figure it out and plan it. Also, if you're listening to this and you're in the Discord and you want to like just play games with people, I think there's plenty of people that are just down to play or like. I was even thinking it could be fun if we did some non-battle spirits type stuff as well. So we'll have to just see what we end up doing just as like a fun little community night or
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of you guys are onto different games. We're all into different games. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, Cam's kind of twisting some of you guys into Key Forge. Love to see it.
yeah.
So, maybe we can just have different channels or whatever, and we all just play different games that you guys want to try out, or we can all learn together if it's a game that none of us have played, or if you guys have any games that we haven't talked about, that you think we should try out. Maybe we can just record something, and you guys can make fun of us because we suck playing at it. So,
Yeah. I do want to
so
explore One Piece a little bit more because we had fun with that. And they also just
yeah,
released a banned list now. So
they did. Yeah, they
yeah.
did. So.
I'm not really going to speak on that because I don't really know enough about the meta, but there were some cards that I was aware of that I saw get banned. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I just know there's not a lot of happy players. That's all I know.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I don't really feel like I know enough to really comment, but it definitely. I don't know. For me, as someone on the outside, I think a banned list is kind of interesting because I'm like, okay, well, this is maybe a little bit of an opportunity for me to jump in. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. And until next time, have fun. Good luck if you're playing in any of the grand open events. And we'll see you next time. See ya.
Catch you guys later. See ya.